18000太少了，再加。
你太好了，你不能现在整起来。我来买。
这要入乡随俗，我们这边
不行，厂长，不行。
180,000 is too little. Add more, that's too little. You have to follow local customs.
彩礼谈崩，当场轰人，第二天肠子悔青了。
If you don't believe it, you can try, but no way. No getting angry today is a day of great joy, a wedding day. And yet, on this supposedly joyful day, the bride price negotiations completely collapsed. The scene turned into chaos, and by the next day, intestines were blue with regret. The marriage was thoroughly ruined. Truly something rarely seen. Let me tell everyone about this outrageous matchmaking story. Last night, Sister Lou went with the man's side to the woman's home to discuss marriage, and they were directly kicked out of the house so angry they almost collapsed. It all started with a young couple. The girl was born in 1995, works as a kindergarten teacher, earns about 50,000 yuan a year. Her parents are migrant workers in the countryside, and she has a younger brother. The boy was born in 1993. Graduated from a top 985 university, works as a doctor in a private hospital with an annual salary of 300,000 yuan. His parents, one is a university professor, the other is a doctor at the family's hospital. In terms of family background, the two were simply not on the same level. But who would have thought, when they met through matchmaking, they fell for each other at first sight? The girl admired the boy's good conditions. The boy admired the girl's beauty. When hormones took over, all thoughts of being a proper match were thrown aside. They dated and soon met each other's parents. The girl's parents were overjoyed, pushing for them to marry quickly. The boy's parents, however, kept stern faces the whole time, completely disapproving of this future daughter-in-law. Whenever the girl went to the boy's home, she was met with obstacles. Coming back, she vented her anger at the boy who could only comfort her. "Don't mind my parents, as long as the two of us live happily, it's fine." In this way, they dated for another half a year. During that time, the girl's family pushed strongly for marriage. The boy, caught in the middle, was torn. His parents even said, "If you dare marry her, we will not acknowledge you as our son." But the boy was also determined. He directly obtained a marriage certificate and sent it to his parents saying, "It's done, the rice is cooked." Only then were the two families forced to discuss the marriage arrangements. Yesterday, the boy brought a matchmaker to the girl's house to formally discuss the betrothal gift. As soon as the topic of bride price came up, the atmosphere collapsed. The girl's parents opened their mouths, asking for 288,000 yuan. The matchmaker tried to persuade them, saying, "Could it be less? The wedding expenses are large. Can we work something out?" But the girl's parents exploded on the spot. Even a village widow getting remarried asks for 200,000 yuan. This price cannot be lower. When asked about the dowry, the girl's family snapped back. Is raising a daughter easy? When she marries and bears children, shouldn't there be some guarantee? The boy was so anxious he was stomping his feet. Money doesn't fall from the sky. The girl's mother shouted loudly, "Let your parents pay. If they won't pay, how can you think of getting a wife?" From 1 o'clock in the afternoon until 6 o'clock in the evening, the matchmaker's tongue was worn out, but the girl's family refused to back down. In the end, they directly threw them out. Go home, think it over, and then come back. That evening, the boy's parents made the final decision. They would rather the two break up than go through with this marriage. The next day, the boy decisively blocked his girlfriend. The girl cried and called the matchmaker. "This was my parents' idea. It has nothing to do with me." At this point, her parents began to panic. They said, "Fine, 100,000 yuan for the bride price will do. We'll give all of it as dowry." But the boy no longer believed in it at all. In the end, another marriage collapsed. So this is truly a lesson for all parents. When it comes to bride price, don't be too outrageous. The happiness of your children is what matters most. Now, regret is useless. Video.
现在的婚姻呢，说是要挟式婚姻、妓女式婚姻。
Marriage nowadays has turned into a kind of blackmail marriage, even like a prostitute-style marriage. Such a marriage is already unhealthy and abnormal. In this kind of marriage, it is said that the woman uses her reproductive value to demand a high bride price from the man. "Only if you give me money will I marry you. Only if you give me money will I have children for you." Look, what I criticize has always been these women opening their mouths to demand without dignity, without self-respect, selling themselves in order to get married. But let's turn this around. Who should be criticized the most? The ones who should be criticized the most are the men. Because if there is buying, there will be selling. Without buyers, there is no market. If you don't buy, then who is she going to sell to? Without a market, she has nothing. So who should really be criticized? It is the modern men. An adult man who can accept that his parents buy him a house, buy him a car, and then give out several 100,000 yuan in bride price into the hands of the woman, even into the hands of the mother-in-law just to marry a woman. How low must you be? How utterly without a brain must you be? How lacking in your own value must you be for a man to reach this point? We used to say that giving some money, giving a bride price, was a gesture of respect toward the woman. But if a woman opens her mouth and asks for several tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of yuan to bring back to her family, does such a person really deserve respect? Do you think such a woman deserves respect? If a man thinks such a woman is worth respecting and that he should hand her several 100,000 yuan to show that respect, then what are you proving when you take the hard-earned money your parents scraped together, sometimes even to borrow to hand over as respect? You're proving that you are nothing. A man like that one who takes several 100,000 yuan from his parents to give to a woman as bride price, if I saw such a boy, I wouldn't want him for my daughter. I would even tell my daughter, this marriage we will not agree to. We don't want this money either. Because such a man has no future. He is someone without intelligence, someone without dignity or bottom line. He acts without boundaries, he lacks ability, and he has no clear awareness. What kind of boy would take several 100,000 yuan from his parents just to give it to a woman, to a mother-in-law, even before the marriage is done? After marriage, if I earn money, I can give every penny to my wife. I can treat her well. But before marriage, what value do you have that is greater than mine? If I were to say I marry you, I give you several 100,000 yuan, and I can get back 1 million or 2 million yuan in return, then this investment has meaning. Before we dive into all of this, let us know in the comments where you're watching this video from. Connecting with viewers across the world is a huge source of inspiration for us.
彩礼我认为是中国的第一大陋习。其实人们也经常说的一句话，彩礼就是穷人为难穷人的一个东西。
In my view, the bride price is the #1 bad custom in China. People often say a well-known phrase, the bride price, is simply something that makes the poor exploit the poor. In front of wealthy people, you don't even dare to make a sound because you're afraid they won't want you anymore. They don't want you, and you're scared. Many so-called leftover women are exactly those who have been played with by rich men, used up, discarded after being slept with enough times until no one wants them anymore. Then, they turn around and look for some poor man to take over. And the poor man, he then has to take out 200,000, 200,000, even 300,000 yuan to marry her. After marrying, she still rides on top of his head. A few days later, if she feels unhappy, she divorces, and that 200,000 or 300,000 yuan is gone, wasted, scrapped. This is the fate of the poor. This is precisely the bizarre and absurd nature of the bride price custom in China. To put it bluntly, it is a form of people eating people. No wonder so many poor men now lie flat and refuse to get married. The main reason they don't marry is because of this. As for me, I have already made up my mind. I have one daughter and one son. When my daughter gets married in the future, I will not ask for a bride price. The gift for marriage must not exceed 2,000 yuan. That is all. In essence, it should just be that since marriage is a big event, the gifts are simply a little heavier than usual. For example, buy me 1 or 2 sets of clothes, or bring a little fruit or something preserved for a long time anyway. It should not exceed 2,000 yuan. That will be perfectly fine. And for my son, when he marries in the future, I will not interfere with bride price. If my son wants to give someone a bride price, that's his own business. I will not manage or demand anything about it. I would rather my son not marry at all than for me to get entangled in the matter of bride price. I say all this not to show off, not to make myself look noble. I am simply disgusted and hateful toward this practice. In fact, my father set a very good example in this matter. Back in the 1980s and 1990s, when my 3 elder sisters got married by logic, we could have made a fortune through bride price. But my father did not act like some greedy parasite. I remember when my eldest sister got married in the year 1984, they just bought clothes worth a few dozen yuan. My brother-in-law said at the time, "We don't have money, we cannot afford more." Someone even went to talk to my father, but my father said, "As long as there are clothes to wear, why make things so difficult for people?" With just those words, he resolved the whole matter. Because of this, for his entire life, all three of my brothers-in-law respected my father greatly. Even after my father passed away, they still remembered him with gratitude because he never tried to make things difficult for them. My father was a man born in the 1940s, a man extremely frugal. He could split a penny into two halves to spend, and he might eat at a restaurant less than once a year. That's how hard and frugal he was. But even so, he never demanded excessive bride prices, never wanted to gain something without labor, never tried to exploit others. When my three sisters married, not once did he make things difficult for anyone, and because of that, my three brothers-in-law respected him their entire lives, always grateful. They felt he was a normal, reasonable man, not someone who would make it impossible to afford a wife or pile unbearable pressure onto others. When you marry, you should just do the normal things. Buy a few sets of clothes, hold a simple banquet, and that's enough. That is why I say bride price is an evil custom. To put it bluntly, this practice of bride price in China has given morally corrupt people an excuse to openly extort tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of yuan from others under the disguise of custom. Something inherently unreasonable and unlawful has been painted as tradition, as if it were right. But at its core, it is the most immoral and the most harmful practice, and it is the reason China's marriage market is now so unhealthy and full of disharmony.
家人们呐，最近刷到太多因为彩礼反目成仇的新闻啦。
Family, recently I've seen far too many news stories about couples turning against each other because of bride price. It's truly heartbreaking. You tell me, how can something that was supposed to be a joyous occasion turn into such a farce? Behind these farces, how much helplessness is hidden? Helplessness tied up by face, bound by profit. Today, we must break this down piece by piece and talk about why something that was originally meant as a blessing, the bride price, has instead become the fuse that destroys marriages. Whether you admit it or not, there are three troublemakers behind this, and especially the third one, absolutely the most hateful. The first is parents meddling blindly. Just last year, Beijing News reported such a case. In Shandong, there was a couple who had been in love for 6 years. The man was an ordinary wage earner. The woman ran a small business with her family. The two had originally agreed on a bride price of 120,000 yuan. But the woman's parents thought that since their daughter was well-educated and had a good job, they should demand at least 280,000 yuan. They even declared that not a single yuan less would be accepted. The man's parents felt this was already beyond what they could bear, saying they could give at most 150,000 yuan. During the negotiation at a hotel, the two families directly flipped the table. Parents on both sides accused each other of being unreasonable. In the end, the couple was forced to break up. The second is relatives interfering recklessly. In Jiangsu, there was a young couple. The man's family gave a bride price of 160,000 yuan, and the woman's parents were quite satisfied. But the woman's many aunts and uncles started whispering, "Nowadays, if the bride price is less than 200,000 yuan, you can't even show your face. If they give so little, it means they don't respect your daughter." The woman's parents with weak ears listened and went back to renegotiate with the man's family. The man's family exploded, feeling they were being unfairly treated. Both sides quarreled bitterly. A couple once in love had their relationship completely destroyed because of the meddling words of relatives. The third and the most damnable is the matchmaker. They deceive both sides. In Shandong, Xiao Lu and Xiao Zhou met and fell in love through such a matchmaker. When it came time to discuss marriage, Xiao Lu's family proposed a bride price of 120,000 yuan, and Xiao Zhou had no objections. But the matchmaker, greedy for more profit, lied to both sides. To the woman's parents, they said, "His family is wealthy, you must ask for at least 180,000 yuan, otherwise your daughter will be bullied in the future." Then the matchmaker turned around and told Xiao Lu's family the woman's side insists on 180,000 yuan, not a single yuan less. Both families were misled and trapped in this manipulation. They quarreled endlessly over the bride price until the relationship finally collapsed. The couple broke up. Think about it, a perfectly good marriage ruined simply because of the matchmaker's selfishness turned into a tragedy. The bride price was supposed to be an expression of blessing and goodwill for the newlyweds, but because of the interference of these people, it became a bargaining game of interests. The young couple who once dreamed together of the future were dragged into a war of interests. Their love was worn down and their trust was destroyed. So, here is my heartfelt advice when it comes to bride price couples should close the door and discuss it themselves. Never let outsiders interfere. If you're still watching, comment 1 so I know you're still with me.
大家好，今天我又认认真真来拍一个作品。评论区有人晒出一张福州的彩礼单。
Hello everyone! Today I once again carefully made a video. Someone in the comment section shared a bride price list from Fuzhou. The bride price was 588,000 yuan, gold worth 80,000 yuan delivery gift, 20,000 yuan. Small token, 10,000 yuan. Large token, 20,000 yuan departure gift, 28,000. Yuan meeting gift, 8,800. Yuan road expense, 10,000 yuan. Lighting ceremony, 20,000 yuan. Buying clothes, 18,000 yuan. Reception, 28,000 yuan. And the matchmaker, 6,800 yuan. The total came to 837,600 yuan, covering 12 separate items. Among them, the departure gift and the lighting ceremony were especially unheard of. Later, a kind-hearted person explained, the departure gift is money given by the bride's family to their daughter when she marries. The lighting ceremony refers to money the bride's family gives to their grandson when their daughter has a child. With so many different categories, regions lacking cultural depth would never have considered things so thoroughly. But Fuzhou, known as the land of scholars and the province of opera, truly lives up to its reputation. Even just the word lighting carries a literary atmosphere. In fact, light symbolizes hope. One lamp can banish 1,000 years of darkness, and one light can shatter 10,000 years of confusion. At this moment, I suddenly realized why there were 7 prime ministers, 13 deputy prime ministers, and 2,451 nearsighted scholars. It was because they had the lighting ceremony. For most of us, life is filled with darkness, the future clouded with uncertainty. We do not know what tomorrow will bring or what next year will hold. It feels like stumbling forward in the dark. But those families had already prepared in advance during the marriage negotiations. Fathers had already given money to grandmothers to install the light so that their children would be welcomed with brightness. While ordinary people still fumble in the dark, these children were born into a life where their paths were illuminated from the very beginning. This perfectly explains why out of every 10 students at the University of Science and Technology of China, 3 come from Yinchuan. Why the prodigy Fang Zhongyang wrote poetry at 5, was learned in literature at 7, and became a scholar at 14. Why Wang Anxi, one of the great Tang song writers, was already well read in Mencius at 10 and writing poems by 13. Among the 8 great masters of the Tang and Song dynasties, 2 came from Fuzhou. It was the foresight of the lighting ceremony that produced the mystery of the land of scholars. And it was these scholars that established the tradition of bride price being so all-encompassing. More than 10 years ago, I once asked for directions in Jianziku, Fuzhou. An old farmer in his 60s described to me with the detail of a geography textbook the population, land area topography, and natural features of Fuzhou. His words still amaze me to this day. Such rich cultural color permeates every person. So a bride price list with 12 separate items is nothing difficult for the people of Fuzhou. I recall the story of Mao Hong and Zhang Yiying exchanging letters from her embroidered tower. Mao Hong sent 500 taels of silver to Zhang Yiying, instructing her to buy land, build a house, make clothes, and strive for success. Such clarity of purpose made me think of the extraordinary talents of Fuzhou women. But what I didn't expect was that Zhang Yiying, together with her father, lit a fire in the embroidered tower, burning a dowry stretching 5 miles long. This frightened all the dowry keepers in Fuzhou and forced other talented women to withdraw their own dowries. Truly, as in the lines from the Peony Pavilion, without a dowry fate itself becomes strange, helplessly the flowers fall. The lighting ceremony illuminated not only the red wedding papers, but the deep cultural traditions behind them. Nowadays, the issue of bride price is no longer just a cultural tradition, it has become a heavy social burden. According to data from China's Ministry of Civil Affairs, in the year 2023, the marriage rate in China dropped to a record low of 36 years, only 6.8 per 1,000 people compared to 9.9 per 1,000 people just a decade earlier. Meanwhile, in many rural regions, the average bride price has risen to more than 300,000 yuan, and in some places, even surpasses 500,000 yuan. This shows that instead of being a blessing, the bride price has now become a barrier, making marriage increasingly difficult. This is truly a China social trends we cannot ignore. When enormous bride price demands are tied to family, honor, and material gain, genuine love is often crushed and destroyed. Economic pressure and family expectations have pushed many young people to lie flat, giving up on marriage and children altogether. This is also one of the reasons why in the year 2023, China's population fell for the first time in more than 60 years. Clearly, the issue of bride price is no longer just a private matter, it has become a China social trends that reflects the future of society. So, what do you think? Is the bride price still necessary in modern society, or has it turned into an invisible chain that destroys the happiness of marriage? Share your controversial opinion in the comments below. Don't forget to hit subscribe and share so we can continue bringing you more breaking and in-depth stories. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.